was this sort of fundamental political issue going on here, which was Bill Clinton, who was campaigning in part against that George H.W. Bush was paying far too much attention on international issues, but he also had to prove his bona fides as a tough guy, a guy, governor of Arkansas, had absolutely no foreign policy experience. So his bona fides were, he was going to stop the genocide in Bosnia, and he was going to do it with air power. And it was really an extraordinary moment. I don't know if you remember this, but this debate became, could you fix Bosnia from the air itself? And Colin Powell, who really didn't want to intervene, of course, because of the Powell Doctrine, we're certainly not going to do it from the air. You had to do it big if you were going to do it at all. And Powell gave an interview to the New York Times and wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. And he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs at this point, an extraordinary thing to do when something was so politicized during a campaign, saying it was never going to work with air power. So by the time that Clinton came in, we all expected that he was going to do something on Bosnia. Warren Christopher was then Secretary of State. He got up and talked about how you couldn't tolerate genocide in the heart of Europe in the late 20th century. It was completely intolerable. We all expected them to do something. The Europeans didn't want to play. Clinton didn't know how to lead. Christopher, sadly, was not going to assert himself. And they flopped around in a really, really desperate and awful way for quite a long period of time. And I think there was just one too many market bombing, and I think finally Clinton figured it out, and they finally did it, but not after really sort of flopping around in a great deal. It's funny, we all look back now on the masterful leadership of Bill Clinton and Oslo, not Oslo, of course, Camp David, which has failed, but he tried with North Korea, and he did do some extraordinary things internationally, and the handshake on the lawn of the White House and all of that. But that was a terrible period of time in which everyone was talking about the decline of American power under Bill Clinton, until he did finally decide to commit in Bosnia. And then, of course, committed with much more surety when it came to Kosovo.